No beautiful woman before her had held the title of official royal mistress. Agnes Sorel became the first to be recognized as the beloved of the ruler of France. She also marked the beginning of a legacy of young women whose influence on art, fashion, and even state politics was profound. With her impeccable beauty for the 15th century, which captivated Charles VII of Valois, Agnes Sorel earned the nickname Lady of Beauty. The beauty standards of the 15th century were as follows: snow white, almost marble-like skin, a very high forehead, a slim waist, and tiny hands and feet. Pale skin was accentuated with powder, and portrait artists depicted women with complexions indistinguishable from milk. To make the forehead appear more pronounced, the hairline was artificially pushed back. It's unclear whether Agnes resorted to such tricks, but during Charles's reign, she was considered nearly a paragon of beauty. Even the Pope remarked, "She has the most beautiful face one could ever see." She was born in the early 15th century, as the Hundred Years' War was nearing its conclusion, and her future lover had just been proclaimed king. Naturally, she came from nobility, otherwise, Agnes would not have been able to join the entourage of Isabella of Lorraine, the Duchess of Anjou. Charles was 19 years her senior, and by the time they met, he had already become disillusioned with life. His own mother, Queen Isabella of Bavaria, had attempted to usurp his throne and publicly labeled him a bastard. The English had nearly seized power in France, leaving Charles with only scraps of the kingdom, while his own relatives engaged in desperate intrigues, sometimes siding with the invaders and then suddenly returning to support Charles. The king had learned not to trust anyone. In the year of Agnes's birth, the king married Mary of Anjou, who was not the most attractive woman in France but was capable of providing him with political allies. His wife bore him 15 children, though only 6 survived infancy. Mary was a worthy woman but failed to ignite any passion. But Agnes did. There's a theory that Agnes Sorel was sent to Charles by his own mother-in-law. She spotted the attractive young woman in the entourage of her daughter-in-law, Isabella of Lorraine, and devised a plan. Since the queen could not adequately influence the king, the clever Yolande de Bar, who referred to herself as the Queen of Four Kingdoms, decided to control the king through a mistress. However, at that time, the term mistress was not even known. Agnes was offered a modest role to brighten the king's leisure time, provide him with sound ideas, and report to Yolande about everything happening at court. But things didn't go as planned. Charles VII was not merely charmed. He fell in love with Agnes with the fervor of an enamored youth. A year later, at a knightly tournament in Nancy, the king proclaimed her his lady. She astonished onlookers with her striking appearance in a suit of pure silver armor. From being one of the Duchess's ladies-in-waiting, Agnes soon rose to become a lady of the French queen and also the owner of the Château de Butte-sur-Marne. From this castle came the nickname of Mademoiselle Sorel, Lady Butte, Lady of Beauty. Previous rulers preferred to keep their mistresses discreet, but Charles took a different approach. He elevated Agnes to a new, official rank, and when they had children together, they were all recognized as children of France. First came Marie Marguerite, who later became the Countess de Tabor. Then Charlotte Valois was born, who married Jacques de Brise. Charlotte's son would eventually become the husband of another royal mistress, Diane de Poitiers. Following that, Agnes gifted Charles a third daughter, Jean, who entered into marriage with the Count of Sancerre. Agnes's beauty was celebrated by artists and poets alike. All the ladies at court aspired to resemble the favorite, but keeping up with her was no easy feat. Who would dare to follow Agnes's lead and alter their dress neckline to reveal what had previously been carefully concealed? Where could one find enough precious stones to make them sparkle on their garments like drops of dew with every movement? And who would have the courage to wear a train longer than the queen's? Agnes took great care to protect and enhance her beauty. She painted her lips, a scandalous act for the time, plucked her eyebrows, and applied honey masks to her face each night. She had access to the finest craftsmen for all kinds of cosmetics. While Agnes may not have had the talents of a stateswoman, she undeniably influenced Charles VII's political decisions. Were these suggestions from her mother-in-law? Or perhaps from other parties? Whatever the case, they often clashed with the opinions of the king's advisor, Jacques Coeur. A conflict between the mistress and one of the wealthiest men in France arose in the late 40s of the 15th century. By February of 1550, Agnes was no more. Almost no one doubted, including the king, that the beautiful sorrel had been poisoned. Interestingly, mercury was later found in her remains. Jacques Coeur's involvement was quickly established. The advisor was exiled from France and stripped of his vast fortune. There are grounds to believe that the Dauphin Louis, who openly hated his father's mistress, was behind it. Or was it just a coincidence? The Lady of Beauty was buried with the splendor of a princess or duchess. Her 3 daughters were raised at court, each receiving a suitable dowry. As for King Charles VII, just 3 months later, Agnes's cousin Antoinette took her place by his side. She did not become an official mistress, but she clearly sought that status, leading some historians to suspect her involvement in the early demise of the Lady of Beauty.